Hey guys, welcome back to Keeping It Apostolic, the most edifying podcast in the world. I'm joined here today with Steven Sedhoum. Thank you, Steven, for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you, Isaiah, for inviting me. It's a great blessing to meet you.
Blessing is
on the podcast.
Blessing is mine. So before we get started, we'd like to get to know who you are a little bit more. So tell us about who you are, what you're about, just a quick rundown.
Sure. My name is Steven Sedhoum. I'm a servant and a deacon at St. Mary and St. Mina Clearwater Church in Florida. Really quick, I moved to the United States 7 years ago. Currently, I'm in dental school in Virginia. Just finished my first year, moving on to the second in a couple of weeks. I serve in the church in various capacities in the chorus of our church, pre-servants, high school, many other services in general. So that's a little bit about myself.
All right. That's nice. Thank you. Today we're talking about hymnology. We're talking about the hymns. So I'm just going to start with, about you and about your life with the hymnology. What kind of got you started on hymnology? Where did that passion come from? Talk us through that a little bit.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. I got ordained a deacon. I used to live in Kuwait. Before I moved to the U.S., I got ordained a deacon over there back in 2008. I was forced by my parents, probably like any other kid. They saw it was an opportunity. I wasn't really interested in hymnology or in becoming a deacon over the years. So from 2008 up to maybe around 2016, I wasn't really into hymns or interested, or maybe I didn't even dress as a deacon maybe once or twice. In 2016, I don't know what happened. I just maybe matured, maybe realized
when would that have been in your life?
In 2016?
Yeah. You would have been in high school, middle school?
In 2016, I would have been in early high school.
Okay.
Finishing middle school, going into freshman in high school. Maybe realized the value and the treasure that we have here. And then I moved to Florida in 2017. And by the time of me moving and living in Kuwait, I didn't have an opportunity to learn a lot of hymns. So when I started dressing as deacon more, I've been put on the spot now, all these deacons are singing these hymns in the congregation, and I'm just, standing there doing nothing. So I think the passion sparked from there, me just having the zeal and I'm a deacon, and it's also my responsibility to learn the hymns. I'm a chanter. And then when I moved to Florida in 2017, that's when it continued. It sparked. I would just listen to hymns, go on walks, whatever, and I basically taught myself from just listening over and over and over the hymns of the church, basically.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, it comes with big changes in life. Like obviously moving is a huge change, especially internationally moving. I know for myself, it really took off when my parents started going to Ashay and Tazbaha. That's when it started for me. Like a big change like that kind of sparks that, the working of hymns within you. Mm-hmm. So kind of that leads into my next question, which is how have the hymns impacted your personal spiritual journey?
The hymns impacted my journey in many ways. The Father of Confession will tell me, pray. And my idea of prayer, or the general concept of prayer, is you stand with your agbeya and you just recite prayers. And sometimes we give ourselves excuses and we don't have time to pray. But learning the hymns is actually a prayer. Like just you're driving, by and listening to hymns, or just singing a hymn. That's prayer. Or you doing something and just saying a hymn in your head or out loud a little bit. That's a form of prayer. So definitely it's keeping me and reminding me and keeping me in a constant prayer with God. So it definitely impacted my spiritual life that way, that me learning the hymns, being in church more often, to pray the liturgy. So that's one thing, allowing me to attend more liturgies, allowing me to attend more tasbihas, allowing me to be in a constant relationship with God, whether I'm in church or outside of church. So it definitely impacted my spiritual life in that way, having this constant relationship with God.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like what hymns allow you to do is to connect with God even when you feel like you're not connecting with God. It's like, it's just like with music, with everything. Like when you listen to music, like you're connecting with the artist, you're connecting with people who listen to that music. I feel like it's the same thing with hymns. You know, you're connecting with Christ himself, and you're connecting with the entire congregation of believers. And so I think that's why hymns play such a crucial role in our liturgical practice, because it's a symbol of unification, as well as many other things, of course. Why do you think hymns within liturgical services are so important and are so valuable? And you know, a lot of people say like, oh, we have too many hymns, we sing too many long hymns, we're in church forever, like why don't we just cut the hymns? What is kind of your response to that, kind of, you know, validating maybe why hymns are as important as they are?
So if we go outside of the church and go to the world, you'll find music, right? And you'll have like those top musicians and classical music, and music has been like around since forever. So it's not only the church that has this music, but the church has the special type of music, which is this Coptic hymnology. That's the music of the church. So the church is not, saying, let me be unique and go against the world and have my own thing. No, but actually it's kind of going with the world in the sense of having this music. And also the church allows us to participate with all our being, with all our senses. So the sense of hearing and hearing the hymns affects us and affects our souls deeply. So for instance, if someone is during Holy Week or during Good Friday, for example, and you're standing there and you're listening to Golgotha, or you're listening to Hymnology, and you're listening to the tune and how it's a sad tune. Although it's long, yes, I agree with you, it's long, but the tune itself is affecting my soul and your soul and hopefully everyone's soul to live the passions of Christ. So although the hymns are long, but in my opinion they're not that long, some of them, but it allows us to participate and live the moment that we're in. So if I'm in Holy Week, I'm living Holy Week with its beautiful tune. If I'm in Resurrection, the Feast of the Resurrection, and the very joyful hymns that we say, my soul is very joyful. So that's my take on the hymnology. It affects, it goes deeper to the soul and allows me to participate fully. Although they're long, although there is a lot of O-O-E-E in them, and that's a whole different, topic, why Coptic versus English, or all these different things. But the idea is that's affecting my soul. Allow it to participate. And when I learn the hymns more, I will feel it even more. And even if someone who is not very into hymns, and you'll find Good Friday is the most packed day of the whole year in the church. People who come to church and people who don't come to church are there. Why? Because this hymnology affects them and they're very touched with it. So that's my answer to someone who asked that question.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, not only do the hymns, affect our souls, I really like the point you made about how it allows us to participate in, what the church wants us to what we're praying in the church. Like I love the example of like Hymnology. It's a suffering to sit there, and especially if your churches who do it in all three languages, like my church. I mean, you're there for 45 minutes singing the same hymn, with the same O's, E's, and Ah's in whatever language you're singing in it. It's the same three sounds. Yeah. And even for someone like me who really enjoys hymnology, like that's a painful 45 minutes to sit through. But that's the point, is that you're suffering with Christ. That's a different type of suffering. I'm just complaining out of the weakness of my flesh, but I still get to partake in a little bit of what Christ is dealing with. And this reminds me of very short sermon that Abuna Anastasi gave on hymnology, and he talks about he answers the question, why long hymns? Like, just why? Like, what's the point? And he gives a very beautiful answer. He says that it gives us a reason to sit in the presence of God longer. Like, who wouldn't want that? You know, when you're in Tasbih, when you're praising God, you're at the highest level of praise. The highest level of prayer is praise. Like, you are literally at the feet of God. You are in front of Him with the angelic praising Him. Like, what more could you ask for? Like, why are you not just enjoy the fact that you're in God's presence praising Him? So I think that as well, it also requires us to enjoy hymnology. It requires us to have a shift in our mindset, and instead of thinking of it as like, even as deacons, we can get into this thing where we think of it as like, oh, like we need to learn this so we can sing it this way and do this, and it's like we miss the whole spirit behind the hymnology.
Correct.
You know, we miss the spirit of the hymnology. So what are some ways you think that we can stay focused on that spirit of hymnology versus like the semantics of, you know, what's going on?
I think the most important thing is love, especially for us as deacons. Maybe it's different for congregation members who are not deacons, or females who are not deacons. Love for deacons, that I'm loving my brother, or I'm loving God. I'm doing this for God, and I'm not doing this out of my pride or out of me showing off that I know the specific hymn, or out of that I have a good voice. People say I have a good voice, so I'm doing this. So that's number one. Number two, of course, learning the hymn. When I learn the hymn and I know the hymn itself and know the meaning of the hymn, I will enjoy the hymn even more. Maybe knowing background information about the hymn, maybe teaching the hymn even, will allow me to enjoy the hymn. Maybe although it's long, like the example you mentioned, but I will still enjoy it. Number three, as you said, to shift the mindset. You know, to shift the mindset. In today's world, everything is very quick, you know, with the reels and the shorts, and life in general is running. So our brain is being programmed, let's finish. When is liturgy ending? When are they finishing? So I think to shift this mindset and to give a break from being in the world, and when we come to church, just, you know, it's the perfect opportunity to spend time with God. Whether the deacons are elongating more or not elongating, whether they have a good voice or don't have a good voice, it's just I'm in the presence of God, as you said. So, like, this is my brainstorming to your question.
Yeah, I think, I mean, like you said, it comes at understanding really the words, not just understanding what they mean, but like understanding what they mean, like praying them, realizing that it's not just like, oh, like Christ was crucified, rose from the dead, ascended to the heavens. No, like he was crucified, he resurrected, and he ascended to the heavens. Like there's like an emphasis on it. There's like you said, like, what does it mean to you? You know, like in my own life, what needs to be crucified, what needs to be resurrected, and what needs to be ascended to his throne. And I think that's kind of, I always like to think everything spiritual comes in steps. Everything spiritual comes in steps. Like a classic example is like the fear of God. So it first starts off as like, oh, you're actually scared of going to hell. And then it's like, okay, you're scared to upset God. And then it's I like God, so like I kind of just want to like do what he says. And it's like I fully love God, like I want to give my entire life to him. Mm-hmm. And that's like the progression of like that spiritual aspect. And I think the same thing with hymns. It starts off with like, maybe I'll just talk about deacons because I'm a deacon. Like that's what I lived as in my life. But it starts off as like mom and Bob are making me be a deacon. They're pushing me up there. You know, like I got to learn this. We're in this hymns class. I have to learn this, whatever. But then it becomes, oh, like I kind of like the tune. Like it's catchy. Like I like this. Like let me like do some more. And then it's like, oh no, like I really like the words, like what they mean, and like, you know, the meaning behind it. And then it's, I love like living out what these words mean and really applying it to my life. So I think it's that same thing where it's everything spiritual has progression. There's always baby steps to the next step. But it all starts with that first step, that planting the seed. So how can we as servants and as future parents and all that, how can we plant the seed for the love of hymnology in children who we serve or who we're going to have?
Show it. Meaning, if you're a deacon, always maybe talk about the hymns, or instead of listening to secular music, listen to hymns. Put emphasis on the hymnology. As parents or as deacons or congregation members, I think we should explain the meaning behind the hymns. What is the point of the hymns, right? The point of the hymns was for us to engage in the prayers and also to preserve the faith in a sense, with all the words and meanings behind the different hymns. It was put in place for the preservation of the faith. So I think if we emphasize and point out these things to the younger generation or to someone who's new to hymns, they will be more aware and more eager to learn the hymns. And as you said, my father of confession also tells me the same thing. With spiritual life, the 3 steps or the 3 stages that we go through, he called in Arabic, like he told me in Arabic, but I'll just translate it. He says, the first stage is you forcing yourself. As you said, I'm being forced to do this thing. And then the second step, it became a habit, it's forced, okay, out of forcing, it became a habit. Maybe I'm not enjoying it, maybe I'm enjoying it, I don't know. And then eventually I reached the enjoyment level. So if someone is encouraging others to learn hymns, he has to also keep in mind that this person might not have been exposed to hymns before, or might not, or maybe still in this stage of being forced. So do not be discouraged. And if it's someone that's receiving the hymns or trying to learn hymns and is being discouraged, just remind yourself it's gonna take the time, as you said.
Yeah. And I think just like with everything spiritual, like it takes time. It's with that patience. Christ says, by patience possess your souls. It's not just, with the virtue of patience, but it's using your patience in everything. And actually with Abuna Fama this morning, we were talking about this idea of instant gratification, and how, this entire world is based on like, I need it now. And even spiritually we do that. We're like, we pray, we go, oh, our life hasn't changed. Like, you think like after one prayer, your life's going to change. Like, that's not how that works. It's about like consistently putting the work in to, learn the hymns, or not even just learn the hymns, but to pray the hymns. Like, that takes practice. It takes practice to go from just singing it to praying it. It's not just like a switch you flip. Sorry. It's a lot more than that. So I think that's also very important, is realizing that things take time. We'll talk a little bit about when it comes to we'll talk a little bit about hymns and about the future with hymns, especially with like the American Coptic Orthodox movement and the English hymns and all that. So obviously getting rid of all Coptic hymns is not a good idea. Just blatantly put, there's obviously a time and place for everything. There's a time for English, there's a time for Coptic, a time for Arabic. Do you think we're going to move in a direction where more of these longer hymns, like you were talking about Tishori, the long Tishori earlier, will be moved into English, or do you think they should just kind of stay as they are?
That's a very long conversation, but to make it short, I think the Coptic is still going to be there, and also the English will come as well. But we have to keep in mind that all these hymns, when they were authored in Coptic or Greek, or like that was the original language. That's why the hymn itself, or the music of the hymn itself, is based on the original language it was written in. So when I translate the hymn to a different language and try to put the music on it, it might sound off. But again, for the sake of practicality and us living in America and not using these languages, I have to change it, to pray it in English so we can understand and everyone participates. But at the same time, where is the balance? That's the question. Where is the balance? I think a lot of people are pro English and changing all the hymns to English, but at the same time, you'll be surprised, a lot of the younger generation who are born and raised here are pro Coptic.
Yeah, I would fit into the second category for sure.
I was having this conversation with one of the servants from our church, and he was telling me, like, he was talking to someone else, and this person told him that all of the younger generation of his church are pro-Coptic, and they even know hymns in Coptic that are not even said in Egypt.
Of course. Why do you think that is?
Why do I think that is? That is because of many things. One of the reasons is maybe these hymns, when something is forbidden from you, you actually want to do it. Like if you see a sign that says "Do not enter," out of curiosity, you're gonna enter. So maybe these hymns, they see it on Coptic reader, or they see it in the khulagi. Oh, this hymn is written. We never said it. Let me check it out, and they learn it. And some people have the passion to learn these different hymns. And what's helping is the social media and YouTube and all the recordings, the thousands of recordings that are on the internet, that like this I can learn and search whatever hymn I can find or I'm interested in. So that's also another thing. But also at the same time, a lot of the older and a lot of the younger people are moving towards the English. So in my opinion, it's all about the balance. Like a liturgy cannot be all Coptic, because how will I enjoy it? Yes, we're talking about the long hymns and the music and how it affects the soul. But at the same time, I have a brain and I need to understand, and it cannot be all English, because it will not be as effective as the Coptic. So it's all about the balance. Maybe one liturgy, we can pray some certain hymns in English. The next liturgy will pray it in Coptic. Or some hymns, it doesn't matter that much if I pray it in Coptic or English, but others will matter, So that's my take on it. Like, for example, the long, like Omonogenes, for example, its music, it was written in the Greek language. So when I say it in Greek and then I say the quick way in whatever language, I'm understanding it. But to get the benefit of the hymn, the Greek is better. I don't know, many opinions, different churches have different, opinions about it, and the priests who manage the churches. And a lot of the American Coptic churches are being built, which are fully English service for those who are interested in that, or for converts. So that's my take on it. It's we have to find a balance.
Mm-hmm. I agree with the balance, but I also think it's very interesting how a lot of the younger generation does cling to the Coptic, and I think the reason why is, at least I'll talk for myself, is that living in this world where you're told you have to be different, that's just one more reason to be different. Mm-hmm. And I think that in itself holds its power. And what I would like to relate that to is the Catholic Church in the 60s, before Vatican II, was the fastest growing religion in America. And then in their Council of Vatican II, they, said Latin's not a requirement. And their church, they made some other changes, which probably also helped with the decline of their attendance. But that was just one less reason for people to think it was different. That's one less reason for people to fight for it, if you know what I mean. So I think with Coptic, especially with kids who were born and raised here and who have, to go through school and who have to fight for their faith, and from an ideological perspective, of course, not physical persecution, but ideological persecution, having something else that's different, having a language that's different, helps a lot with that mindset of, no, I am different. I'm not like anyone else. We're not of this world. I think that helps. That's my personal reason as to why I think that is.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't grow up here in America, so I grew up in Kuwait, where everything was either Arabic or Coptic, so the English was not, and all the longer hymns were in Coptic, like in Egypt. So I didn't really have this challenge until recently, with this new English movement, which I'm not against.
Oh, of course. I'm not. Yeah,
yeah.
of course, not against.
I'm not against, and I'm against the
Any extreme.
any extreme and hindering people from prayer.
Yeah.
So if you know that your congregation, if you're a lead deacon at your church, and you know that your congregation knows Coptic, and you forcefully pray English, you might be hindering them in a sense, you know. Or if you know that your congregation do not know Coptic at all, and the whole church will be very loud if you say in English and everyone is participating, you're hindering them if you're saying in Coptic. So again, it's back to the idea of, it's not about me, you know. It's about us as deacons. It's about the congregation and others.
Yeah.
You know, yes, it's good to learn the hymns. It's good to know these extinct and very, you know, uncommon hymns. But at the same time, the hymns, they preserve the faith and they do all these things. But it's a means
to an end.
To an end. What is the end? Eternal life. It's just a means. It's like the same idea with the rituals that we do in the church. You know, it's a means to the end. It's not the end itself.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the deacons are like the bridge between the congregation and the altar, and that's it. Their job starts and ends with that sentence.
Correct.
You know, so it's about what can we do as deacons to bring the people to the altar, to really bring their souls to the altar, as well as our souls with them. Right. And I think what that starts with is the deacons themselves pray the words they say. Think about it, like how St. John Chrysostom has this homily where he talks about the anaphora, where it says, lift up your hearts, and we have them with the Lord. Like, how dare we lie? Like, we're standing in front of Christ on the altar, and we're saying that we've lifted up our hearts to the Lord, and our hearts are outside thinking about what we're going to eat for lunch. Like, the gates of hell are burning in front of us. Like, we have Christ incarnate, his body and his blood on the altar in front of us, and we're like, lift up your hearts, whatever. Like, who are we? Like, what? Like, you know. And so he has this very fire homily where he rips into his congregation. And what does that start with? The deacons, the people with the mics in their mouths. Are you lifting up your heart? Because if you're not, how can you expect the 100 people behind you, the 300, 400 people behind you to do the same thing?
Exactly. Amba Raphael, bishop, the general bishop in Egypt, he's one of the known bishops who loves hymns, and in Kiaki, and he is very known. Yeah. He gave an analogy about this. He said, the deacons, imagine you have a school bus. The deacons are the drivers, and the congregation are the passengers. If the chorus or if the deacons are unorganized, or they're not feeling, as you said, what they're saying, it's going to be a very bumpy ride. And the passengers are not going to reach the destination, in enjoyment. But if the driver, which are the deacons, are unified, and everyone is singing in one voice, and everyone is feeling and praying together, the journey is going to be very smooth and very enjoyable. And
you can tell, like one of the biggest blessings I've had at this podcast is that I've been able to travel to so many different places and see so many different church communities. You can tell when a church's diaconate is organized and praying the words, and like they know what they're doing. You can tell, and you can tell the opposite very, very apparently. And so I, as a stranger, can see that. Imagine people who go there every single week, what they see. So I think it's just, as deacons, it's about realizing what your role is, and like really putting the vainglory and the pride aside, and just focusing on praying the words and bringing the congregation to the altar.
And us for deacons, just as a side note, like it's easier for us now. Like we're gonna go into a side topic of boys versus girls in the hymns.
Yes.
The deacons, you have a purpose to learn the hymns, because you're a deacon and you learn the hymns, you're gonna sing them. The girls can say, oh, what's my point of learning hymns if I'm not a deacon, or there's no chorus for me, or whatever. But again, it's the idea of changing your mind that these hymns are a means of prayer. It's not just for us to hold a mic and say them. It's a means for prayer. So whether you're a boy or a girl, a deacon or a non-deacon, learning the hymns is essential for your spiritual life, in my opinion.
Of course.
That's just
It's just like reading spiritual books is not just for abunas.
correct.
You know, reading the sayings of the church fathers is not just for priests. Singing hymns is not just for deacons. Like reading your Bible is not just for Sunday school servants. Like, you know,
Correct.
like it's all. But like St. Paul says, like some are teachers, some are preachers, some are prophets, some can speak in tongues. Like everyone has a role, but you think the prophets don't know how to preach?
The other things, yeah.
Like you think that preachers don't know prophecies?
Yeah. God
like,
maybe gave you a specific talent and a specific,
Exactly.
big topic or a specific, area, but it does not hinder you from doing the other things.
Of course. Yeah.
And I know females who are better deacons than some males.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I have.
Perfect. Thank you, Isaiah.
Anything else you would like to say?
I would like to say one last thing. Just always encourage yourselves, whether you think it's hard or it's impossible. I thought the same way, with every new world that you enter and you see the world and how big the world is, you get discouraged sometimes. So for younger deacons maybe, or people who are new to hymnology, do not be discouraged. Maybe start with smaller hymns or more common hymns and build your way up. You don't have to master all the hymns at once, so you're not discouraged. And it's gonna take time, as you said and as you mentioned. That's all I have. The hymns are beautiful, and it's a huge treasure in our church, a huge treasure for the preservation of our faith, our Coptic language, the church rites. It's a huge treasure, and we're very lucky to have it. And people can search that on their own time, how the hymns were preserved. Because before the podcast, the questions that you sent me, one of the questions was the history about the hymns. And I had to go deep and search about these, because all these historical events are mostly written in Arabic, probably, so there's not a lot of English references to them. Maybe they are, but I didn't find them. But maybe that's just a topic for us and for your viewers to go and dive deeper into the history of the hymnology. It's very beautiful.
Looks like we'll have to get you on again then. That's what that looks like. So just a quick plug for something before we get finished. The Institute of Coptic Hymns, ich.la, that's their website, has classes for all levels of all people for hymns. They have beginner, advanced, intermediate hymns classes. They have a lead deacon program. They have a deaconess program. And they have a muallim program, which is like, big shot. So if you're interested, link will be in the description. You can go look it up on your own time. Obviously, there's SF Hymns Institute as well.
Yeah.
Well, link will also be in the description. And then anything else I find hymns related will be there. I think that's for what. First off, thank you for coming on the podcast,
thank you,
Steven.
Isaiah, who came all the way from Georgia to here, and a couple of podcasts a day. God bless you, and God bless your service. You're doing blessing, great. Thank you.
The honor and blessing is mine. So thank you, and thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. See you guys next week. Thank you.